Welcome to Ace My Exams Learning. Let us get started with today's learning.
Various options are provided to answer the following questions. Choose the correct answer. Question: which part controls the amount of light entering the eye? A. Cornea. B. Iris. C. Choroid. D. Lens. The correct answer is B. Iris. The iris is the colored part of the eye that controls the size of the pupil, thereby regulating the amount of light that enters the eye. Question: which one of the following refers to an aquifer? A. An increase in the temperature of water bodies as a result of water from industries. B. Planting of the same crop on the same area repeatedly. C. An underground permeable rock saturated with water. D. The release of water with chemicals from mines. The correct answer is C. An underground permeable rock saturated with water. An aquifer is a geological formation that stores and transmits groundwater, usually composed of permeable rocks or sediments. Question: the structure in the amniotic egg that removes waste products. A. Yolk sac. B. Chorion. C. Amnion. D. Allantois. The correct answer is D. Allantois. The allantois is a sac-like structure involved in the exchange of gases and the handling of liquid waste in the amniotic egg. Question: which one of the following is correct with regard to astigmatism? A. Light cannot pass through the cornea. B. Light cannot pass through the lens. C. Refraction of light rays by the cornea is uneven. D. The lens cannot become more rounded. The correct answer is C. Refraction of light rays by the cornea is uneven. Astigmatism occurs when the cornea's surface is irregularly shaped, causing light to refract unevenly and leading to blurred vision. Question: which structures secrete progesterone during pregnancy? A. Adrenal gland and corpus luteum. B. Corpus luteum and placenta. C. Thyroid gland and Graafian follicle. D. Pituitary gland and Graafian follicle. The correct answer is B. Corpus luteum and placenta. During pregnancy, progesterone is primarily secreted by the corpus luteum and later by the placenta to maintain the uterine lining. Question: which one of the following shows the correct sequence of an impulse from the receptor in a simple reflex arc? A. Sensory neurons pass through the dorsal root, and motor neurons travel through the ventral root to the effector. B. Motor neurons pass through the dorsal root, and sensory neurons travel through the ventral root to the effector. C. Sensory neurons pass through the dorsal root to the effector, and motor neurons travel through the ventral root. D. The effector sends a signal to the interneuron, which travels through the dorsal root, and then the motor neuron passes through the ventral root. The correct answer is A. In a simple reflex arc, the impulse travels from the sensory neuron through the dorsal root, to the motor neuron through the ventral root, and then to the effector. Question: which one of the following would be a disadvantage when a biological method is used to control alien plant invasion? A. Able to control alien plants without the use of harmful chemicals. B. Some part of the alien plant may be left to regrow when mechanically removed. C. The species introduced might be alien in the area and outcompete the indigenous species. D. Chemicals might affect the indigenous plants in the area. The correct answer is C. The species introduced might be alien in the area and outcompete the indigenous species. A biological control method might introduce a species that becomes invasive itself, outcompeting native species. Question: which one of the following is a consequence of the destruction of wetlands? A. Increased biodiversity. B. Decreased water availability. C. Decreased global warming. D. Increased water quality. The correct answer is B. Decreased water availability. Wetlands act as natural reservoirs and filters, so their destruction reduces water availability and quality. Question: nocturnal animals have the ability to see clearly in the dark. They have A. Bigger eyes. B. More rods in the retina. C. More cones in the retina. D. No blind spot. The correct answer is B. More rods in the retina. Nocturnal animals have more rods, which are photoreceptor cells in the retina that are highly sensitive to low light levels, enabling them to see in the dark. Question: which one of the following is correct regarding the homeostatic control of glucose in the human body? A. Gland, pancreas, hormone secreted, insulin, effect on blood glucose level, increase. B. Gland, pituitary, hormone secreted, glucagon, effect on blood glucose level, increase. C. Gland, pancreas, hormone secreted, insulin, effect on blood glucose level, decrease. D. Gland, pancreas, hormone secreted, glucagon, effect on blood glucose level, decrease. The correct answer is C. Insulin, secreted by the pancreas, decreases blood glucose levels by facilitating the uptake of glucose into cells for storage or energy use. Give the correct biological term for each of the following descriptions. Question: the layer in the atmosphere that protects living organisms from the ultraviolet rays of the sun. The correct answer is ozone stratosphere. Question: the illegal hunting and killing of animals. The correct answer is poaching. Question: a condition of the cell where there is only one set of chromosomes. The correct answer is haploid. Question: the response of a part of a plant to a light stimulus. The correct answer is phototropism. Question: a hormone that stimulates ovulation in humans. The correct answer is luteinizing hormone, LH. Question: the part of the brain that connects the left and right hemispheres. The correct answer is corpus callosum. Question: the blood vessel that transports deoxygenated blood from the fetus towards the placenta. The correct answer is umbilical artery. Question: a small device that is inserted in the ear to drain fluids caused by a middle ear infection. The correct answer is grommet. Question: the branch of the autonomic nervous system that restores an increased heart rate back to normal. The correct answer is the parasympathetic nervous system. Question: a structure in the eye that absorbs light to prevent internal reflection. The correct answer is choroid. The diagram below represents a part of the human ear. Question. Identify the following parts with their letters. 1. Part A. 2. Part B. 1. Part A is called semicircular canals. The semicircular canals are part of the inner ear responsible for maintaining balance. They detect rotational movements of the head and help in coordinating balance and spatial orientation. 2. Part B is the auditory nerve. The auditory nerve, also known as the cochlear nerve, carries sound information from the cochlea in the inner ear to the brain. It plays a crucial role in transmitting auditory signals for sound perception. Question. Give the letter and name of the part that 1. Creates pressure waves in the fluid of the inner ear. The letter representing the part is E and the name is oval window. The oval window is a membrane-covered opening that leads from the middle ear to the cochlea of the inner ear. When the stapes bone vibrates against the oval window, it creates pressure waves in the fluid inside the cochlea, which are essential for hearing. 2. Absorbs excess pressure waves in the inner ear to prevent the formation of an echo. The letter representing the part is D, and the name is round window. The round window is another membrane-covered opening in the inner ear. It acts as a pressure release valve, allowing the fluid in the cochlea to move properly when the oval window creates pressure waves. This prevents the buildup of pressure that could distort sound transmission or create echoes. Question. Name the 1. Part of the brain that interprets impulses from part F. 2. Receptors found at C. 1. The part of the brain that interprets impulses from part F is called cerebellum. The cerebellum is the part of the brain that processes information related to balance and coordination. B. Receptors found at C are called hair cells, organ of Corti. They convert mechanical vibrations from sound waves into electrical signals that can be interpreted by the brain as sound. A boy steps on a nail and pulls his leg away suddenly. The diagram below shows the pathway taken to create this reaction. Question. Name the pathway represented by the diagram. The pathway represented in the diagram is called the reflex arc. The reflex arc is the neural pathway that controls an immediate, involuntary response to a stimulus, such as pulling your leg away after stepping on a nail. It bypasses the brain, allowing for a faster reaction to prevent injury. Question. Give one advantage of this type of reaction. This type of reaction helps to minimize injury by allowing the body to respond quickly to potentially harmful stimuli and protect the body from injury, such as pulling away from a sharp object before it can cause significant damage. Question. Identify the following parts. 1. Part B. 2. Part C. 3. Part E. 1. Part B is the interneuron, a connector. The interneuron, or connector neuron, is located in the spinal cord and serves as a link between the sensory neuron and the motor neuron in the reflex arc. It processes the incoming sensory information and triggers an immediate response by activating the motor neuron. 2. Part C is the ventral root. The ventral root is the part of the spinal nerve that carries motor signals from the spinal cord to the muscles. 3. Part E is the effector muscle. The effector in a reflex arc is typically a muscle or gland that carries out the response to the stimulus. In this scenario, the effector muscle contracts to pull the leg away from the nail, completing the reflex action. Question. Give the letter and name of the neuron that transports impulses towards the spinal cord. The letter is A and the name is sensory neuron. The sensory neuron represented by the letter A detects the stimulus, stepping on a nail, and transmits the nerve impulse towards the spinal cord. This neuron is responsible for conveying information from the receptors in the skin to the central nervous system, where the reflex response is initiated. The diagram below shows a phase during meiosis in an animal cell. Question. Identify Part C. Part C is called the centromere. The centromere is the region of a chromosome where the two sister chromatids are held together. During meiosis, the centromere plays a crucial role in ensuring the correct separation of chromosomes, as it attaches to spindle fibers that pull the chromatids apart. Question. Name the phase represented in the diagram. The phase represented in the diagram is metaphase I. Question. Part B represents homologous chromosomes. What are homologous chromosomes? Homologous chromosomes are a pair of chromosomes that have the same structure, including the same location of the centromere and the same length. They also possess the same sequence of genes. One chromosome in this pair is of maternal origin, while the other is of paternal origin. Question. Explain the appearance of the chromosomes in the diagram. Some chromatids have a mixture of genetic material from their homologous chromosomes, which indicates that crossing over took place. This genetic exchange occurs during prophase I of meiosis, where homologous chromosomes pair up and exchange segments of genetic material. Question. State the function of Part A in the phase following the one represented in the diagram. Part A represents the spindle fibers, which are responsible for separating the chromosomes during meiosis. In the next phase, anaphase I, the spindle fibers contract, pulling the homologous chromosomes towards opposite poles of the cell, ensuring that each daughter cell receives one chromosome from each pair. Question. The total amount of DNA is 12 arbitrary units in each daughter cell at the end of this cell division. How much DNA, in arbitrary units, was in the parent cell at the beginning of the cell division? There were 48 arbitrary units in the parent cell at the beginning of the cell division. In meiosis, the parent cell undergoes a reduction division, meaning the amount of DNA is halved as the cell divides. Meiosis produces 4 daughter cells, each containing half the genetic material of the parent cell. If each daughter cell has 12 arbitrary units of DNA at the end of meiosis, the parent cell must have initially contained 48 arbitrary units of DNA. This is because the total DNA is divided equally among the 4 daughter cells. The diagram below represents a part of the human skin. Question. Identify Part B. Part B in the diagram represents the sweat gland, which is responsible for producing sweat and plays a crucial role in regulating body temperature. Question. Describe how structure A functions during thermoregulation on a cold day. On a cold day, structure A, which is a blood vessel, constricts in a process known as vasoconstriction. This reduces the amount of blood flowing towards the surface of the skin, which in turn minimizes heat loss from the body. By restricting blood flow to the skin, the body retains more heat, helping to maintain its core temperature. As a result, this mechanism allows the body to conserve heat and bring the temperature back to a normal, stable level. Question. Explain why temperature needs to be kept constant in the human body. Maintaining a constant temperature in the human body is essential because enzymes that facilitate various biochemical reactions function optimally at around 37 degrees Celsius. If the body temperature rises too high, these enzymes can denature, meaning they lose their shape and can no longer carry out their functions. On the other hand, if the temperature drops too low, the enzymes become inactive, slowing down vital processes. Therefore, keeping the body temperature stable ensures that all necessary enzymatic reactions continue efficiently to sustain life. Question. ADH plays a role in osmoregulation in the human body. Name the gland that secretes ADH. The gland responsible for secreting ADH, antidiuretic hormone, is the pituitary gland, also known as the hypophysis. This gland plays a key role in the regulation of water balance in the body by controlling how much water is reabsorbed by the kidneys, ensuring that blood pressure and hydration levels remain within healthy ranges. Question. Describe osmoregulation on a cold day. On a cold day, osmoregulation functions differently because the body loses less water through sweating. As a result, the water levels in the blood are higher than normal. Since the body does not need to conserve water, less or no ADH is secreted. This leads to the renal tubules in the kidneys becoming less permeable to water, meaning less water is reabsorbed back into the bloodstream. Consequently, the body produces more urine, as it no longer needs to retain as much water to maintain balance. Question: explain why the ADH levels in the blood will always be higher than normal for a person with a medical condition that causes the renal tubules to become resistant to the effects of ADH. In a person with a medical condition where the renal tubules are resistant to the effects of ADH, water cannot be reabsorbed into the blood effectively. As a result, the water levels in the blood remain lower than normal, which prompts the body to secrete more ADH in an attempt to correct the imbalance. However, because the renal tubules do not respond to the ADH, the body continuously produces higher levels of the hormone without achieving the desired effect of water reabsorption, leading to persistently elevated ADH levels in the blood. Read the extract below and answer the following questions. Reproduction in the guppy fish. Guppy fish have a very interesting method of breeding. During mating, the male deposits packets of sperm inside the female's reproductive opening using an organ called the gonopodium. This process takes place several times and the female stores some of the extra sperm. The fertilized eggs remain in the female's body until they hatch and the young are born live. The gestation period is usually between 22 and 28 days. Question: name the type of fertilization in guppies. The type of fertilization that occurs in guppies is internal fertilization. In this process, the male guppy deposits sperm inside the female's reproductive opening, where fertilization takes place within the female's body. Question: explain 2 ways in which the type of fertilization named in the previous question increases reproductive success. Internal fertilization increases reproductive success in guppies in 2 important ways. Firstly, by depositing sperm directly into the female's body, increases reproductive success and ensures that more sperm reach the eggs, resulting in a higher number of eggs being fertilized and develop into offspring. Secondly, once the eggs, gametes, zygotes, are fertilized, they remain inside the female's body, which provides a safe environment where the developing embryos are shielded from predators and environmental dangers. This protection increases the chances of the young surviving to birth. Question: why are guppies considered ovoviviparous? Ovoviviparous refers to species in which the embryos develop inside eggs that remain within the mother's body until they are ready to hatch. Guppies are regarded as ovoviviparous because their fertilized eggs develop and hatch inside the female's body. The developing young are nourished by the yolk within the egg, not directly by the mother, but they are born live. There is no placenta involved as the young hatch within the mother and are then released into the environment as live offspring. Read the case below and answer the following questions. Premature delivery of babies, babies born between weeks 28 to 35 of gestation, has been a concern in many countries. The care of premature babies is very costly. Women with a history of premature delivery are sometimes given a progesterone treatment between weeks 16 to 20 of pregnancy. However, this treatment is believed to lead to the development of gestational diabetes mellitus in the mother. An investigation was done to determine if progesterone treatment leads to the development of gestational diabetes mellitus. The procedure was as follows. 300 pregnant women with a history of premature delivery participated in the investigation. Those that had pre-existing diabetes mellitus were excluded. The women were divided into 2 equal groups, Group A and Group B. The women in Group A were injected once a week with 250 milligrams of progesterone between weeks 16 and 20. Their glucose levels were measured and recorded daily between week 16 and 36 of the pregnancy. Group B was the control. Question: why is the injection of progesterone a good treatment to prevent premature delivery? The injection of progesterone is an effective treatment for preventing premature delivery because it helps to maintain or thicken the endometrium, the lining of the uterus. By keeping the endometrium intact and healthy, progesterone supports the continuation of pregnancy, reducing the risk of premature birth. Question. Identify the 1. Independent variable. The independent variable in this investigation is the progesterone treatment. 2. Dependent variable. The dependent variable in this case is the development of gestational diabetes. Question. Describe how the investigators determined whether any of the participants in Group A had developed gestational diabetes mellitus. The investigators monitored the glucose levels of the participants daily. If a participant's glucose level remained consistently high over time, it indicated the development of gestational diabetes mellitus. This method allowed the researchers to track any changes in blood sugar levels that might suggest the onset of diabetes. Question. State 2 factors that were kept constant when the progesterone was administered in Group A. 2 key factors that were kept constant in the administration of progesterone were: 1. The same dosage, 250 mg of progesterone per injection. 2. The same period of time over which the injections were given. Injections were administered weekly between weeks 16 and 20 of pregnancy. These controlled variables ensured that all participants in Group A received the same treatment under the same conditions. Question. Group B was the control. Explain the importance of Group B in this investigation. Group B served as the control group in this investigation because they did not receive progesterone injections. The role of this group was crucial, as it allowed the researchers to compare the results between women who received progesterone a Group A and those who did not a Group B. If gestational diabetes developed in Group A but not in Group B, it would suggest that the progesterone treatment may have contributed to the development of the condition, helping to identify a potential link between the treatment and gestational diabetes. The diagram below represents a type of visual defect. Question. Identify Part F. Part F in the diagram represents the sclera. The sclera is the tough, white outer layer of the eye that provides protection to the more delicate structures within the eye. It also maintains the shape of the eyeball, allowing the eye to retain its form and function properly. Question. State 1 function of Part B. Part B, identified as the choroid, plays a crucial role in the eye's visual function by absorbing light that enters the eye, thus preventing internal reflection. This ensures that light does not bounce around inside the eye, which could distort the images that are formed. Additionally, the choroid contains many blood vessels that supply nutrients and oxygen to the retina and other parts of the eye. Question. Explain why the light rays must focus on Part D rather than on Part E. Light rays must focus on Part D, which is the retina, because it contains the photoreceptor cells, rods and cones, responsible for detecting light and converting it into neural signals that are sent to the brain. If light were to focus on Part E, the optic disc, no visual image would form, as this area lacks photoreceptors, making it a blind spot. The optic disc is where the optic nerve exits the eye, and while essential for vision, it is not involved in the direct processing of light. Question. Name the type of lens that is used to correct the visual defect shown in the diagram. The visual defect shown in the diagram is corrected using a biconcave lens. This type of lens is used to correct nearsightedness, myopia, by diverging light rays before they enter the eye, helping to refocus them on the retina. Question. Describe how the type of lens named in the question above corrects the visual defect. A biconcave lens corrects the visual defect by diverging, or spreading out, the incoming light rays before they enter the eye. This adjustment allows the light to be properly focused on the retina, instead of focusing in front of it, which is the cause of blurry vision in individuals with myopia. By redirecting the light to the correct focal point, the image becomes clear. Question. Explain one way in which Part C is structurally suited for accommodation. Part C, the lens, is structurally suited for accommodation because it is highly elastic. This elasticity allows the lens to change shape, becoming thicker or thinner depending on whether the eye is focusing on near or distant objects. When viewing objects that are close, the lens becomes more rounded to increase its refractive power, while for distant objects, the lens flattens out to reduce refraction and focus the light properly. Question: name the two muscles found in Part G. The two muscles found in Part G, which is the iris, are the radial muscles and the circular muscles. These muscles work together to control the size of the pupil. The radial muscles contract to dilate the pupil, allowing more light into the eye in dim lighting, while the circular muscles contract to constrict the pupil in bright light, reducing the amount of light that enters. Question: name and describe the visual defect that occurs when Part A is uneven. When Part A, the cornea, is uneven, the visual defect known as astigmatism occurs. In this condition, light rays are refracted unevenly due to the irregular curvature of the cornea, leading to blurred or distorted vision. This uneven refraction prevents light from focusing properly on the retina, resulting in a scattered or unfocused image. Astigmatism can affect both near and distant vision, depending on the severity of the corneal irregularity. Read the extract below and answer the following questions. Auxins can be used as selective herbicides. Auxins stimulate plant growth, however, a high concentration of auxins may cause the plant to grow too fast. The plant is not able to sustain this rapid growth and as a result, it will die. Farmers spray artificially manufactured auxins onto the surface of weeds to kill them. This type of herbicide, weed killer, is selective, as it kills mainly the broadleaf dicotyledonous plants without having any effect on narrow-leafed monocotyledonous plants, such as wheat, maize and grass. Auxin-based herbicides are more environmentally friendly. Other herbicides may kill some organisms and the chemicals from these herbicides accumulate in the food chains, thus disturbing the ecosystems. Question: state one way in which auxins cause growth in plants. Auxins stimulate plant growth primarily by promoting cell elongation. They do this by loosening the cell walls, allowing the cells to expand. This elongation occurs mostly in the shoots, enabling plants to grow taller and orient towards light, a process known as phototropism. Auxins also play a crucial role in root development and the overall regulation of plant growth. Question: explain why farmers would want to kill the weeds in their fields. Farmers aim to kill weeds in their fields to reduce competition for vital resources such as water, nutrients, sunlight, and space. Weeds often grow more aggressively than crops, consuming essential resources and hindering crop development. By eliminating weeds, farmers ensure that crops receive the necessary resources to thrive, leading to better yields and more efficient use of agricultural land. Additionally, removing weeds helps prevent pests and diseases that may spread from weeds to crops. Question: according to the extract, state one disadvantage of using herbicides that are not auxin-based. A key disadvantage of using non-auxin-based herbicides is that they may harm other organisms within the ecosystem. These herbicides can kill non-target species and accumulate in the food chain, potentially disrupting ecological balance. The chemicals used in such herbicides could persist in the environment, leading to long-term ecological damage, such as affecting beneficial insects, soil microorganisms, or even animals higher up in the food chain. Question: give one reason for using auxin-based herbicides instead of physically removing the weeds. Using auxin-based herbicides is more labor-efficient and time-saving compared to physically removing weeds. When physically removing weeds, it is possible to leave behind parts of the weed, such as the roots, which may allow the weed to regrow. Auxin-based herbicides, on the other hand, kill the entire plant, including the roots, preventing regrowth and reducing the need for repetitive weeding. This method also minimizes labor costs and time spent on manually removing weeds, allowing farmers to focus on other agricultural activities. Question: explain why the farmer should not use an auxin-based herbicide in her field. The farmer should avoid using an auxin-based herbicide if her field contains both maize and beans because the herbicide is selective, targeting broad-leaved dicotyledonous plants like beans while sparing monocotyledonous plants such as maize. If used, the herbicide would kill the beans, leading to significant crop loss. Since beans are a valuable part of the crop, using this type of herbicide would not only reduce yield, but also negatively impact the farmer's income. Therefore, it's crucial for the farmer to consider the types of crops planted before applying auxin-based herbicides to avoid unintended damage to the crops. Livestock farming contributes to approximately 14.6% of all global greenhouse gas emissions released into the atmosphere. The graph below shows the global greenhouse gas emissions of different types of livestock. Question: name the livestock farming that contributes the least to greenhouse gas emissions. The livestock farming that contributes the least to greenhouse gas emissions is sheep and goats. Based on the data provided, sheep and goats emit fewer greenhouse gases compared to other livestock such as cattle, pigs, and poultry. This makes them a more environmentally friendly option when considering greenhouse gas emissions. Question: give one advantage of greenhouse gases. One advantage of greenhouse gases is that they help to trap heat energy, which keeps the Earth warm enough to sustain life. Without greenhouse gases, the Earth's surface would be too cold, and it would not be able to support the diverse ecosystems that exist today. Question: calculate how much more greenhouse gases are emitted by cattle compared to all other types of livestock combined. Show all your workings. To calculate how much more greenhouse gases are emitted by cattle compared to all other types of livestock combined, we follow these steps. Step 1. Identify the emissions of each livestock type. From the data provided, we have the following greenhouse gas emissions for different livestock. 1. Cattle, 4,623 million tons. 2. Pigs, 668 million tons. 3. Poultry, 684 million tons. 4. Sheep and goats, 474 million tons. Step 2. Add the emissions of pigs, poultry, sheep, and goats to find the total emissions from all livestock except cattle. Therefore 668 plus 684 plus 474 is equal to 1,826 million tons. Step 3. Subtract the total emissions of other livestock from cattle emissions. To find how much more cattle emit than the combined emissions of the other livestock, we subtract the total emissions of pigs, poultry, sheep, and goats from the emissions of cattle. Therefore 4,623 minus 1,826 is equal to 2,797 million tons. Thus, cattle emit 2,797 million tons more greenhouse gases than all other livestock combined. Question: name one other source of methane. One other significant source of methane is landfills. As organic waste decomposes anaerobically in landfills, methane is produced and released into the atmosphere, contributing to greenhouse gas emissions. Question: explain why an increase in livestock farming may lead to global warming. An increase in livestock farming leads to global warming because more greenhouse gases, particularly methane and carbon dioxide, are released into the atmosphere. These gases trap more heat, resulting in an enhanced greenhouse effect, which increases global temperatures and accelerates climate change. A factory was built on the banks of a river close to a fishing village. The factory used water from the river to cool down the machinery. The water was then released back into the river, causing thermal pollution. Question: what is thermal pollution? Thermal pollution refers to a change in the normal temperature of an aquatic ecosystem. When industries release hot water into water bodies, it disrupts the natural temperature, which can have several harmful effects on the environment. Question: describe how thermal pollution affects the water quality. Thermal pollution lowers the oxygen content in the water, which is essential for the survival of aquatic life. Additionally, it can cause algal blooms and increase the number of bacteria in the water, further reducing water quality. The decline in oxygen levels and the presence of harmful organisms make the water less habitable for fish and other species, negatively impacting the overall ecosystem. Question: suggest one way in which the factory can reduce thermal pollution. One way to reduce thermal pollution is by storing the hot water until it cools down before releasing it into the river. Alternatively, the cooled water can be reused to cool down the machinery in the factory, or fans and other technologies can be used to help with cooling the machinery. Question: how will thermal pollution affect the fishermen in the village, economically? The warm water from thermal pollution may cause fish to die or migrate away from the area, leading to a loss of income for the fishermen. With fewer fish in the river, fishermen will catch less, affecting their livelihood. Question: suggest, with a reason, the impact that the factory's closure during the COVID-19 lockdown would have had on the biodiversity in Area B. During the factory's closure, biodiversity in the area likely increased. Since no hot water was released into the river during the lockdown, the water temperature would have remained stable, promoting the recovery of aquatic species and improving the overall health of the ecosystem.
To access more learning and exam preparation materials, go to www.acemyexams.coza. This link is also in the video description below. Thank you for watching this video. Remember to subscribe and be the first to know when we upload new videos.